Having gone over the characteristics, principles, and reasons for studying communication, we will now cover some of the basic fields of communications. First, we have oral communication. This field covers the more broad forms of verbal communication and transmission of information often used in conversations, speeches, debates, group discussions, and interviews. The emphasis tends to be specifically on the verbal aspects of communication, which often overlaps with many other fields. The second field is called interpersonal communication. This discipline focuses on communication between people and their relationships both verbally and non-verbally. Its emphasis is focused on relationship types in relation to building up and maintaining different types of relationships. For example, it observes the differences between the way men and women communicate, and from there it seeks to understand how communication functions in families, friendships, romance, the workplace, and the internet, as each of these cross over. When observing families, for example, it studies how husbands and wives communicate, then mothers with their sons or daughters, then dads with their sons and daughter, brothers with brothers, sisters with sisters, and so on. It does the same for friendships, where it examines how men communicate with men, how women communicate with women, and how men and women communicate with each other. The basic premise is to study each relationship group type and examine how communication happens in as many relationship settings as possible, thereby creating a sort of web of communication among relationships. The third field is called intrapersonal communication. This discipline emphasizes how communication takes place with oneself and is focused on how one uses communication for their own well-being or development. For example, think on how some people may face a dilemma and argue with themselves out loud, or in thinking as they try to work out a problem. It is almost as if they are working out the best decision to make with their own mind. Or perhaps you know of people who write in a diary or a journal as a way to express their thoughts on paper. I am sure many of you have seen cartoon portrayals of this as well, if you have ever seen the image of an angel and a devil sitting on the shoulders of a character as each one tries to persuade them to do the right or wrong thing. This is intrapersonal communication. Our fourth field is group communication, which focuses on the interactions between 3 or more people in meeting an objective goal, often focused on presentations as well. Closely related to this is organizational communication, which focuses on organizations or corporations, observing how communications develop and take place more at a business level, where several teams and individuals play a role in facilitating and achieving organizational goals. The fifth field is mass communication, which studies the use of channels to communicate to the masses, often by way of technology. The emphasis in this field has to do with the channel, or the means which is used to reach large portions of a populace. For example, newspapers, magazines, radio stations, television, movies, social media, all fall under mass communication. The sixth field of communication is intercultural communication. This discipline seeks to understand how we measure cultures and observe how they differ and interact with other cultures. There is a focus on studying the communication styles: power distance, individualism, collectivism, femininity, masculinity, avoidance, orientation, indulgence, and restraint of different cultures. It is a sort of scale in which cultural groups are measured to theorize how they interact and communicate. It also examines 3 dimensions of culture: dominant cultures, which are generally characterized by language and border, subcultures, which are characterized by region or group distinctions, and microcultures, which are characterized by skill or practices. Lastly is public speaking, which will be the emphasis for this class. Public speaking focuses on speeches being delivered to an audience. It places importance in organizing information to either inform, persuade, or entertain both verbally and non-verbally. The communication is often transactional, meaning that as the speaker delivers a speech, the audience reacts and sends feedback, and the speaker continues or adjusts as necessary. This process will be discussed more when we cover theories in communication. Besides these many fields, there are also additional ones which we will not cover in the class, such as debate, argumentation, even forms of music, architecture, and art. However, those are more specialized categories which will not overlap with what we are focused on with this class. So keep in mind that when we study communication, it goes beyond just understanding how we may say or deliver messages. It dives into interpersonal relationships, how you communicate with yourself, the way groups and organizations function, distinctions between cultures, and giving public presentations.